I think one of the values that leads me every morning is actually based on the book of Colossians 3:23, where the Bible says that whatever you do, work at it as if you are working for God and not for man. Because we talk every time you hurt a human being, whether you are a dentist who did a bad job, whether you are a doctor who didn't do a good job on the patient, whether you're an accountant who didn't do a good job, that person, as he's suffering because of you, he prays to God. That God help me to solve this problem, right? So it means, therefore, that if you serve that person well, the day he goes to thank God, that, thank you, Lord, for my car. Thank you, Lord, now I'm healed. It actually brings you to that point of realizing that what you're doing for other human beings is actually your service to God. And I would say that one of the values that is driving us forward is that spirit of service. And, one of our themes for this year of 2021 is from selling to serving, whereby we are looking at the customer who walked into our doors, not as somebody who is meandering to our doors to do business with us. No, he came because he has a need that he wants you to help him solve. He came because he has a want or he has an aspiration that he wants fulfilled through you. So that attitude of service, I would say, is the one thing that I want to continue inculcating in the team and in the brand, for people to understand that we are here to serve each other.
All right. Yeah. Now, we've talked about all the things. We've built a company, top 100. We are looking at the butterfly, right? Technically,
yeah.
Referring to your logo and your story of trusting the process.
Yeah.
You look at the butterfly.
Yeah.
A lot of people tend to look at the fruits. They don't even ask about when this tree was planted, the pain it has taken to grow. What are some of those unbreaking moments that you've had in business?
I think some of the breaking moments that I've met in business, I think 2016, 2017 was a very difficult year for me in business. As you say that Maridady is a big brand, I would tell you that for sure, and I like being completely candid, that you would probably meet some people who would tell you, no, I think the time I interacted with that business, it was not doing very well. Yeah, as you say that we are a big brand, probably there's a banker somewhere who will tell you, no, I don't think that's true, because he knows that there's a time we were not doing very well, probably on the obligations that we had with him. But those are not the things that are most breaking. I think for me, one of the most breaking things was a time when we were completely behind all our obligations. Even paying salaries was a problem. And I remember one employee who came crying to my desk because, the salary had not been paid on time, and told me, you know what? My wife is in maternity and my house is locked. And Bitalk, for me, that was a wake-up call to make me realize that, by the way, this business is more than just about you. There are families that are depending on this business 100%. And I would say that sense of responsibility is the one thing that pushes me every day to make sure that we are trying to make ends meet, and that we are trying to make sure that every person who is in the value chain, be it the customer, be it the staff, is getting their end of the bargain. It is not an easy thing. Sometimes you will find that the employees are happy, the landlords are not. Sometimes the landlords will be happy, the bank will not be happy. It is a true human journey, and that is why I say trust the process. Why? Because one of the things I have seen is that it gets easier with time. People trust you more, people trust the brand more, people want to do business with you, not because you're doing perfectly well, but because they can see the effort that you've put in the little things that you're doing. Yeah.
Have you ever gotten to a point where you wanted to give up?
Oh yeah. I would say that not once. In fact, I say that every morning you wake up, life presents to you the problems, and it also presents to you the possibilities.
The opportunities. Yes.
Yeah, the opportunities. And at that particular moment of the morning, your mind has to make a decision on what to focus on. Are you going to focus on the problems that hypnotize you and drain you the energy? Or are you going to look at the possibilities that are saying that, by the way, if this works, this is how it can look? It is not once or twice that as an entrepreneur, you sit down and feel like you're in the wrong field. You're like, oh, perhaps if I had picked a different path, things would have worked differently. But I keep on saying, and I keep on telling entrepreneurs that talk to me heart to heart, that whatever field you choose, it will still take you there. It will take you to that day when you have to make a decision on whether you want to push on or whether you want to give up. And even if you give up what you're doing, you will have to pick something else and start the learning curve altogether again. Yeah.
From ground zero. Now you go back to kindergarten.
Yeah.
You build up from zero.
Yeah.
So what are the things, giving up is very easy. I can tell you that, it doesn't need a lot of work to give up. I mean, it doesn't need anything. It doesn't take any energy to give up. You just wake up and say, okay, I'm giving up.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to rise up again.
Yeah.
You know, waking up in the morning, it takes a lot to wake up in the morning.
True.
And say, I'm going to try again.
Yeah.
It takes a lot.
Yeah.
We don't just wake up, we don't just wake up and come to do the things that you do every day. For me to wake up at 4 a.m. to come and prepare for this show,
Great
it
effort.
takes. I mean, it takes you really convincing yourself.
Yeah.
Saying I'm not gonna give up today. There are times you feel like, no, this thing I'm not going to do it today. Especially when it's not probably giving you what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest struggle in business. When you're building a business, you always imagine that now, bam, I'm going to start a business. Ndauza gari, nitaleta gari niuze, niende nilete ingine mbili, niuze, zikuwe nne, niuze. By the end of 2021, nitakuwa na gari 72. Then you come and bring the first car.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Jua inaipiga kwanza, ilikuwa yellow, imeshakuwa red.
Yeah.
Jua imetandika, imekuwa gray. By the time you're selling it at probably at a loss. I mean, there are those times that you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm going to give up today.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this thing today. What is it that that keeps you going? You know, when the times that you wanted to give up, what is it that made you wake up again and say, I'm going to try it again? Getting back on your feet. There are a lot of people who have had business which have collapsed, and that is a real story. Yeah. Even in 2020, a lot of businesses have collapsed because of coronavirus. The economy has been on a meltdown. There is someone even today who's watching us today. They said they're not going even to work. Yeah. They're going to sleep at home. What is it at those moments that you need to give up? No, I have to stand up again and try this thing.
Good. Very deep question, Bitok. And I think one of the mistakes that society has made is that we evaluate the importance of everything based on how much money it makes. And one of the things that I would like to tell my fellow entrepreneurs is that there are businesses you will do that will not give you money, but they will give you character that can make you money tomorrow. Yeah. And I would want to say that sometimes if you judge things short term, they will not make sense. You know, Bitok, if you look at, for example, the role of parenting, bringing up children, if you were to look at it short term, it would not make sense. I mean, if you were to look at it financially, it would not make sense. Yeah. And I want to say that the important things in life cannot always be evaluated on the basis of how much money they make. Yeah. Yeah? When you're bringing up your kid for 5-10 years, you're spending money every day on him, right? Yeah. What is the return on investment on that particular moment? And is the return on investment really financial? So one of the things that I can say is that I have done businesses that didn't work. But when I look back, they didn't work financially. But when I look back, they gave me contacts that are very important to me today. Yeah, I have done businesses that didn't work, but they gave me a lot of values that I value today. You know, I cannot tell you how much money I saved from that coffee work that I was doing when I was a small boy, but I can tell you a value that I brought forward from that. So I think we just need to change our attitude and understand that some things you will go through in life will not reward you financially, but they will make you a person that society can depend on tomorrow. So when things are really tough and when the numbers do not tally, I think I go beyond the sphere of numbers. I look at the people I met. I look at the lessons I learned. And I look at the fact that all that is going to help me make better decisions tomorrow and probably build a better company. Yeah.
All right. So that's something that makes you wake up.
Yeah.
Say, what did you tell someone who is struggling to wake up today to do the things that they do?
I would tell
someone who is even actually watching us in bed right now and saying, this thing I'm not going to do it again.
I would tell that person, first of all, to wake up before I say the next thing. Why? Because you've got to learn to push yourself. You know, if you stay in bed and lock yourself there until evening, there's one thing that you can bet on. Nothing is going to change. But Bitok is very powerful to even just take a walk and just watch the birds fly. You know, meet a person who greets you and asks you where you're going. Yeah, that act of refusing to lock yourself somewhere and going out to interact with your fellow human beings is a very, very important thing. I know that you can interact with people through the internet, but I would say that for that person who is feeling lethargic and they do not have the energy to wake up, the first thing they need to force themselves to do is to wake up and take a walk.
That's amazing. Get up and take a walk. Uwezi jua unaweza kuungana na kamuti kwa kuna opportunity.
Yes.
Akambe unakaa kama unaweza uza gari.
Yes.
I think that's something that really we struggle with. And even as we roll up to the next conversation is the question has been, and we have a lot of young people. You realize that these days degrees have become some small cages, some small prisons, where people sit and say, I cannot do this because maybe I have a degree in this, or maybe I'm not going to hustle because I've gone to school, I've done this and that. I mean, there are a lot of hell of opportunities out here, but because our young people are somehow they have been constricted by the small achievement that they've made in terms of education and all that. To an extent, they cannot think productive in the sense that they cannot go out of their way to do something that makes them. What do you tell today's young people?
I would tell them that we need to be a pragmatic society, and as we begin to have that conversation on academics, I think it is important for people to understand that we respect education, but I think one of the purposes of education is to give you a critical mind, to even criticize that education itself, and ask yourself, by the way, the content that I have been taught, from the time that I started schooling in this country, for example, the content that I have been taught along the way, has it prepared me for the life that I'm living? And one of the things that you will find is that there's a gap between academia and where the economy is. And sometimes we have graduates being released into the market year in, year out for a market that does not exist. And so I would tell the young mind, the young graduate, that apart from the education that you have acquired, you have to be willing to use your education to interrogate the society that you're in and ask yourself, what are the socio-economic problems that are there in the society that I can be able to solve? Because I love how the police and the army train their people, because they simulate the real scenario. If, for example, you're training to be a soldier, they actually simulate battle for you. If they're training you to go and fight in the desert, they will get a place that looks like a desert to go and train you there. If they're training you as a Navy, they will take you to the waters. But you see, education doesn't exactly work like that. And therefore, it is the responsibility of the learner to try and take initiative and connect with the market and try to understand where is the market. I keep saying that, education has continued to prepare people to work in big organizations. And I ask, how many big organizations do we have, for example, in this market? You can count them with less than the 10 fingers of your hands, right? Now, if 60% or 70% of the economy is being driven by small businesses, then we need to prepare graduates who have the attitude and the mentality to work in a small business. Because we do have a problem whereby if two graduates graduate today and one gets a job, for example, in an M-Pesa shop, and another one gets a job in Safaricom, you could be having the guy working at the M-Pesa shop considering himself to be having a much more inferior job. But you and I know that the whole strategy of the big company, which is Safaricom, is actually based on the performance of what? Of the M-Pesa shop.
Of the guy at the M-Pesa.
Yeah, yes. The guy at the M-Pesa. But the attitude of the worker is going to matter a lot. So you will find the guy at the M-Pesa shop is sometimes completely lethargic. He feels that he's chilling there as he waits to get a bigger job someday. And I think we need to change the attitude of our people to understand that it doesn't matter where you're serving your fellow human being. Whether you're serving in a big clinic or a big hospital, it doesn't really matter. What is of value is the fact that you have a platform to serve your fellow human being, to meet the need of another human being and make some money out of it.
Wow. That's very profound. That's quite something. And you see, there's also there's something we call the destination syndrome, where people feel they have arrived. You get your first job, probably getting a few bucks. You can pay your rent. You can have a Subaru. Maybe umenoka Subaru ka blue, KBL. Umeweka kelele nyuma. Unaanza umefika. Then you find out you get to that destination syndrome where you feel like there's something that exists beyond that. There are a lot of young people who have gotten there. Wanafika mahali wanapata kitu kidogo, kiburi inaja. Unaona kamba sasa hapa ndio mwisho yake. How do we have these young people see things beyond where they are? Because the truth is, the world is a big place. It's an auction. You can never finish it. How do we move our young people from that destination? Where, when someone is fired, for instance, they run into depression, they die. Actually, some are committing suicide. Every day we're hearing about young people, first of all, who have either killed, or they have actually committed suicide themselves out of depression. Things that maybe are not, maybe they have lost their job, or maybe things are stuck from that degree thing, like, okay, nafanya M-Pesa, niko na degree lakini sijapata kazi. Kama hiyo sio kazi. How do we deal with this destination syndrome where young people feel like mahali wamefika ndio mwisho, and without that there's none?
A great deep question, Bitok. I think there's a script, the Kenyan script. Every time you tell young people work hard and succeed, there's a script in their head of what they define that success to be. And I think that is the beginning of the problems. If you tell young people work hard and succeed, study hard, what is it that Kenyans call success? Because that is the beginning of the problem. Because if the symbol of that success is that Subaru, then you will have people doing anything to get the money to go and buy the Subaru, whether they have to sell their mothers or their fathers, or they have to kill them or kill their brothers or sisters to sell that plot of land to buy that Subaru. They will do that. And I think we need to interrogate the Kenyan script of what people really define success to be. I think we have really commercialized what doing well and succeeding in life is all about. Bitok, I would want to ask you, that teacher who is teaching Sunday school in the village, or is teaching a nursery school in the village, what are the chances that he can fit in the Kenyan script of what being successful is all about? I think we need to relook at the script and tell people that success really is having that opportunity to serve your fellow human being in whatever capacity. And God has given us different passions. There is that person who only enjoys teaching Sunday school. And if he doesn't teach Sunday school, he's not peaceful. There is that person who only enjoys teaching nursery school. And even if you give him an opportunity to go and teach in the university, he doesn't feel the same about life. And his success, therefore, is finding that niche, that place where he doesn't get tired. He can do it over and over and over again. Now, the script that our young people seem to carry in the head on what success is all about is fully materialistic. It's about where you live, it's about the car you drive, the clothes that you wear, and all this. But the question that we must begin to ask is, what about the day when none of those things make sense? Because there's a time when you will get so old that your ophthalmologist, my wife is an ophthalmologist, will tell you that it is no longer safe for you to drive because your eyesight has really become weak. What will be the sense of purpose for that person? So we need to rehumanize ourselves and decommercialize our thinking to understand that the sense of being human is not about the things that we accumulate around us. It is about the services that we give to our fellow human beings.
Wow. Yeah. That's very incredible. Now, let's talk about, I've seen you've been doing series on COVID-19, on ethics on business, and maybe even post-COVID strategy. Let's start with the COVID-19 period. What do you think, as a businessman, what has been the feeling? You've survived somehow.
Yeah.
How was your experience been during the COVID period?
The COVID period was, a blanket of darkness. It was like being put in a pipe and told to walk forward, and you don't know how long that pipe is. And it brought very pertinent issues on businesses, and it raised very serious questions on businesses, questions of hope and all that. And one of the things that I learned is that nobody benefits from a hopeless situation. Yeah? Nobody benefits when the market is hopeless. When the market is seeing darkness, everything actually goes down. The planes land and they cannot take off because there are no passengers. The banking halls are empty. The schools are empty. The taxis are empty. The showrooms that are selling vehicles are empty. It was just the perfect demonstration of how interdependent life is. That I do well because you're doing well. And that if you stop doing well, I can as well stop doing well. So one of the lessons that I learned, therefore, is to value every other business. Yeah, that there is a relationship between the guy who is selling sukuma wiki in Kiambu market and my business, because when his business does well, that is the guy who comes to buy a Probox to transport that sukuma wiki. I think that if there is anything that has emphasized the interdependency of life, and that has demonstrated to everybody that, you can't do it alone. COVID told the banks, you can't do it alone. COVID told landlords, you can't do it alone. COVID told schools, you can't do it alone. Hotels, every business has been confronted by COVID to actually inspect its values on how it values the entire ecosystem in the economy. COVID told governments that you can't do it alone. You have to do it with the people. And I think COVID has humbled all of us. It brought our numbers down. And I keep on saying that if there is anything that COVID has done, it has not impacted our quantitative KPIs positively. The numbers went down. But in terms of improving the qualitative aspects of our lives, how we relate with each other, how we value each other. Now, The landlords understand that they need the tenants understand they need the landlords, the small businesses understand they need the big businesses understand they need the small businesses. In terms of improving the qualitative KPIs of our thinking and how we relate with each other in society, I think COVID has done a good job.
Wow.
COVID, I met one friend of mine from me. COVID brought our husbands home, for example, because they were so busy running businesses out there, and all of a sudden.
Na kuna zingine zilivunjika pia. Also during COVID realize that kumbe watu wajuanangi, kumbe hii kandoa, zingine hii kazi inatusaidianga sana kuidumisha. Because people started staying together and realize, kumbe hata tukoanga compatible, nini tulijipata hapa. So it has been either way, depending on how you look at it. If you took it positively, it healed you. Kama ulichukulia vibaya ikakumaliza pia. It has been, I think, a double-edged story. True. Now, let's talk about the recovery. Even you as a business, and I'm sure you also interact with other businesses, business people have also struggled during the COVID period. As we talk about moving now from the COVID period to a point of recovery, what do you think is some of the recovery strategies that businesses should or would adopt?
Two things. Number one is that businesses must participate in building a hopeful society to reignite the market. And that's why we were driving the campaign on Trust the Process. If you look at the billboards that we had done on Trust the Process as Maridady Motors, we were saying that life can get slow and ugly. Yeah. But these two, that was referring to the caterpillar becomes a what? A butterfly. And what we were trying to tell the market is that this is part of the process of making us better, all of us. Yeah. So I think right now, businesses should make communications to the market that inspire hope. Because if all of us keep on saying how bad things are, how difficult things are, how the future is dark and all that, it actually becomes that. I have a background in psychology, and one of the things we say in psychology is that people will never do better than their minds are. You cannot build a house that you have not envisioned. You cannot buy a car that you have not envisioned. You cannot have a marriage that you have not envisioned. For you to achieve something in real life, you need to somehow first achieve it virtually and theoretically in your own mind. So if your mind is showing you death and darkness, that is what actually gets translated into your life. You will never build something that you have not built in your own mind. You will never win a war that you have never won in your mind. Even for a musician to sing a song, where does he first sing it? He first sings it in the mind. So one of the things that we must do is that we must speak hope. We must re-inspire society. And we must say, yes, there is a challenge. We are not saying we cover a wound and assume that wound is not there. But we are saying that we have to acknowledge the problem, then ask ourselves, how do we move forward?
Where is the turnaround?
Yes, where is the turnaround? Yeah.
So what are some of the strategies that you'd actually advise businesses to take up, especially SMEs? SMEs are very fragile. Yeah. If you can, you've seen how big businesses have suffered. Yeah. You can only imagine how much more the SMEs are suffering. Yeah. And the question would be, what are some of the strategies? Because most of the guys who are watching here today are doing businesses in their own small way. Most of them are SMEs, small enterprises. What are some of the strategies and shots that they would adopt post-COVID to be able to stay afloat and be able to do business?
You see, business is driven by two parameters. Of course, the number one parameter is revenue, the sales. The number two parameter is the costs. Because, of course, profitability is the difference between those two. So the number one thing that you have to do in a scenario where sales are not growing or going up is to cut costs. And I know the conversation of cutting costs is difficult, talk. Why? Because what are costs in a business? You will be talking about rents, right? You will be talking about salaries. You'll be talking about marketing budgets and all this. And so it means that you will have to have difficult and candid conversations with people. But I have seen value in being authentic and candid with people, that sometimes you have to tell that person that, look, this is how the market is at this particular moment. This is what we think we can be able to deliver at this particular moment for us to remain afloat. But we think that after some time, if we continue like this, things are going to look better. Okay. So I would encourage the entrepreneurs to be candid wherever they are, to be truthful wherever they are. Talk candidly to your partners, talk candidly to the people that you're working with. Be able to shape their expectations so that they are not expecting heaven from you when you yourself, you are actually in hell. So that is a strategy that they can use to move forward during this time of COVID. But most importantly, sometimes when you're going through challenges as an entrepreneur, and I like to say this a lot, there are new opportunities around you. And sometimes the challenge that you're going through is going to press you so hard. It's going to press you so hard that you cannot see the new opportunities. I like to tell entrepreneurs, divide your mind into two. Let one side of the brain focus on the problems, but tell the other side of the brain, can you look out for the new opportunities? Because sometimes, as you have problems on this side, you actually have opportunities on these other sides that can pass you by if you do not look carefully.
And actually say the life of an entrepreneur is about fixing problems every day.
True.
When you're talking, when we're all crying about COVID-19 is finishing us, there's someone somewhere who was sitting and discovering a vaccine.
Yes.
I mean, in every problem, there's always an opportunity. And maybe that's what we really need to look at as well as we move forward, to realize that in every trouble, every problem that we go through, every challenge that humanity goes through, lies an opportunity for someone who is ready to provide a solution.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
Even probably there's been the issues of conspiracy theories on where actually corona came from. Someone sat and said, okay, we need a business opportunity. How do we do it? This is how we do it, and this is how the returns are going to come. So maybe we need to be more awake to fixing the problems that we have as a society, because business is actually about fixing problems.
True, and I like that perspective a lot, Bitok, and I'm happy that you've raised it, because people need to actually realize that your opportunity is in someone else's problem. Your opportunity is in providing a solution. We will do no business in heaven, because heaven will not have any problem. So here on earth, you've got to wake up asking yourself, how do you fix somebody else's problem? The doctor has a job because someone got sick last night, right? Yeah. The counselor has a job because someone is depressed and is stressed and is needing someone to talk to. The mechanic has a job. Why, Bitok? Because your car needs service or it broke down. I have a job because you've overgrown your car and now you want to buy a bigger car. Yeah, we have opportunities in the problems of other people. So every time we wake up, we need to ask ourselves, whose problem do you plan on solving today? Even if you'll just be making someone's hair or someone's nail, you're solving someone's problem, and there lies your opportunity. So anytime we say there are no jobs, is a lie. It's not true. Because to say there are no jobs is to say there are no problems to solve. What there is an inability for us to commercialize our solutions when we give them to other people. And I think that is where we need to ask ourselves, how do we go about it? How do we retrain our people to ask themselves that very basic thing that you do? How do you commercialize it so that you make something out of it as you move on?
Yeah. And even talking about it, this show is a product of coronavirus. Wakati wa quarantine. Kwa nimekaa tu kwa nyumba hivi najaribu kupiga, mimi sijazoea kukaa bure. Hii mastori tunaonganga kwa radio and the mainstream media, we can actually have them. So Zoom, pay subscription, we start having these conversations. This show has been born out of coronavirus.
Congratulations.
COVID-19, quarantine, and here it is today. Started from the house, from my coach, now it's here.
And I meet very serious people who follow this show. You're not the one who pulled me to this show. I was pulled by one of my friends, someone I respect. Amazing. Who told me, by the way, there's a guy I follow every morning called Gerard Bitok. He brings people who talk sense. Because one of the problems also that we have in this country, and I'm glad you mentioned mainstream media, because mainstream media has a huge responsibility in setting the mood and the psyche of the nation. And I think the mainstream media has focused too much on what is going wrong. Every time you switch on the news, you're watching the people who killed each other, the people who are divorcing, the people that are fighting. And it has kind of kept us in a sphere of pessimism.
Narratives.
Narrative, yeah. We are not saying we bury our heads on the sand and assume that nothing is going wrong in society. But what we are saying is that if the mind of the person is continuously pointed to what is going wrong, then the expectation of that person is that things will go wrong. So if this person is continuously pointed to businesses that are going bankrupt, that are being closed and all that, and is not being shown the businesses that were going bankrupt, but they recovered, then that person gets shaped to failure more than to success. And that sucks the energy of the nation. Yeah. So I am very happy and very excited for a show like this. The way the internet has provided an opportunity for media to be democratized, that somebody like you is actually a powerhouse in terms of commanding an audience and being able to inject that retro optimism that you can be able to inject even to the 2,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 people, because the triple down effect is that it's going to be huge. at the end of the day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that I have ambassadors there. Whoever pulled Derek and told him to come here because they've been following the show. Asante sana, thank you. Kama unajua utaniambia alafu nakupea voucher kwenda kuosha gari pale Maridady, Motor Spa, Seattle Mall pale nyuma. All right, even before you roll the conversation, the next conversation is there's I want to read some comments here from someone called let me see there. I've seen some comments here. Let me look at them. There's someone called Wangai Carlos, and it says, I feel inspired by you and see you up in the direction I'm going. I'm motivated to get up to start each new day because of you. Sir Eric is one of the few people I take advice from. Trust the process. All right. Thank you so much. There's someone here who had made a comment, a remark here. Julius Favor says, wow, Bitok, this guy is giving my story, but now mine is the opposite with my brothers. I hope I'm encouraged further. Thank you so much. Keep it up. I mean, keep your head up, keep your shoulders up. I'm also seeing someone here, let me see. Moses Kamo says, I'm inspired. Kayugi Kamusinga says, real talk. Asante sana. Abbas Njuguna just reminded me that actually even COVID-19 that you're talking about devastated us, it also created billionaires. The guy is called COVID billionaires. So it depends on which side of the bed you're lying from. Simo Nyoike Njugush, Nelson says he's following from Utwapa. Saimo Njugush says visit any of the construction sites anytime and give or get insights as to how to design and build concepts of work for optimum utilization of resources. Okay, asante sana. Peter Modama says he's locked. Moses Kamau says we are all interdependent. Asante sana. Kevin Cancelo Osundwa says sober conversation. Thank you so much. Now, there's something I want to run you up into. Over the weekend, on Friday, last Friday, a friend of mine called me. Just a recent friend of mine in business. He says, yaje, uko wapi? Ambia nilikuwa, I was actually somewhere around Runda, thereabouts. Kanaambia, sukuja hapa Garden Estate. So I went. We had a conversation. So he's telling me about, he was a bit stressed. And he was telling me about a friend. Right? He's telling me about a friend. Here's what happened to a friend. A friend is a supplier. He is a trader. He supplies commodities to businesses, specifically supermarkets. Now, this guy's been supplying one of the major supermarkets that are probably going under, or have gone under before, without mentioning businesses, for the sake of integrity. So this guy has been stressed because he's not been paid, I think, and he's been operating with, as a supplier, you operate mainly on credit. Most businesses operate on credit. Ile unachukua credit hapa, unachukua mzigo, unaenda unawacha, unangoja ulipwe, you till back and you accumulate over time. So this guy's been operating on loans. He has not been paid for almost, I think, a year now. So this guy had taken a mortgage for a house, family home, akaeka nyumbani, mali watoto wanakaa. And this business technically was running on credit. So every time, this guy for all years not been paid. So the liabilities have been accruing. The burden has been accruing every time anapigiwa na bank. Tunataka tukuje auction tufanya nini. It probably lost a few things as well to the bank. Ikafika mahali sasa, even those guys who were supplying are going under. They're collapsing. So this guy is sitting and he's asking himself, okay, I have loans on my back. I'm being auctioned left, right, and center. The only place of source of income that I was depending on is going under. Is actually closing up and winding up. I have a family. I have a mortgage that I'm paying. There's a rule in mortgage that if you're alive, you continue paying the mortgage. If you die, that's the end of the mortgage loan. So this guy looks at the family and says, okay, I mean, it's getting worse. He's probably even getting depressed and all that. He's getting into drinking, like massive drinking, kunywa pombe because of depression and stress. So this guy sits. Every day the banks are calling. He wants to be auctioned. The mortgage bank is also looking for its money. Ontaka pesa ya nyumba, the mortgage that you're supposed to be paying every day. This guy is stuck between all these problems that are happening around him. And there seems to be no place, of escape. There seems to be no exit out of this thing. So this guy sits, looks at the family, and says, okay, worst case scenario, these guys will come, they'll auction the house. It will go. The next thing that will come is the banks will come and auction anything that is left.
True.
The debt is still there. It doesn't write off the debt. Because that even, one interesting thing about banks is that they never finish auctioning you.
It's true.
Until ile kidogo hata longi wanaweza kuja kuvoto itoe. Without going to the banks as well, because those are businesses as well. They operate, they do business on money. They lend you money, that's all they make money, is their core business. So this guy sits and looks at the family. looks at a possible eviction. Where do I take this family? There's no place. You always end up with parent. So this guy goes to see his friends. You know, they are sitting. This guy's not drinking. Usually drinking. Akunywe pombe. Kitu kama 10 p.m. He leaves the bar without even taking even a single tot of a drink. In less than an hour, that guy was dead.
Wow.
You know, he went straight into a lorry. Straight into a lorry. Nyuma. Pa, kapiga lorry.
Sad story.
Yeah? You get that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you feel the depth of this thing.
I do.
Like, this is a guy who literally drives into his grave. Right into it. So the insurance come, wanakuja wakapima, there's no alcohol in the body. Kuna pombe, kuna nini. So what happens now? The family has a home. At least. There's no breadwinner. Business, of course, is going to collapse because probably the guy who was running that business. And then we're still ridden in debt. But at least the family has a home. The guy's ready to sacrifice himself. Okay, let me just go. Watoto wabaki na nyumbani. And the struggle as men is having your family, having a roof over the heads of your family, showing that at least they have a place. Even if things are tough out there, they still come back somewhere and start from there. Imagine your kids outside there having been kicked out of home. You cannot do anything about it. I mean, it can kill you. And this is what killed this guy. When you talk about businesses collapsing, and this is something that's really happening in Kenya, big brands are going under. At a very alarming rate. Big brands are going under. We've seen them. They are collapsing every single day. And when we read the news, we only look at the company that's gone down. If it's Maridady, God forbid, you only say, kampuni ya Eric ilianguka. Maridady Motors ilianguka. Nobody takes time to think about the people who are being fed by Maridady. The people who are supplying Maridady.
Or even the struggle of the entrepreneur.
If the struggle of the entrepreneur himself. Nobody takes time to think about the general effect, the collective effect of a collapsed business, of a collapsing business. It is a trend that's happening right now in the country. We hear every day in the news that companies are collapsing. We never take time to think about the livelihoods that were under that company.
True.
We never take time to think about the stress and the depression that even the owner of that company is going through.
In fact,
we read the news and move on. In fact, we make fun.
And we blame, actually, the owner of the business many
times. Most of the time we blame them. We see guys the other day, some of them were demonstrating in town. We say, waendelee kupiga kelele wana mshahara. What is it that's making business collapse in this country? And what is the ripple effect on the economy and the livelihoods, on the mental health of its citizens?